What is up, WrestleZone universe? It is the WrestleZone wrap-up for Thursday, October 1st, 2020. Happy spooky season. Happy Thursday. I am Robert DeFelice. I will be your host for this edition of the WrestleZone wrap-up. A little bit of a change in format there. Joining me on this edition is one of our lead wrestling writers. I might even go so far as to say the lead writer at the website, Dominic DeAngelo.
I'll take that. Hey, thanks.
Enjoy that pressure with your coffee there, pal.
Wow. Oh, man.
All right. So, Dom, how are you doing on this Thursday? How did you like the most recent edition of the Wednesday Night Wars? How are you feeling about TakeOver? What's going on?
So I think it's the whole aspect of having Kyle O'Reilly in the mix with the TakeOver. I think it's just kind of a very neat and much needed change. I've heard Kyle O'Reilly been talked about forever now. And so it just seems like a long time coming that he's kind of in that position of being one of the guys there. So, and Triple H talked about that too on the conference call, how he said that it's been in the plans for quite a while. And I think it's long overdue. As far as the war itself went, like AEW, I thought they had their, I thought the main event was cool with the Butcher and Moxley. I thought Cody's promo was really, really good. What else did I really like? There was there's something else that really stood out to me too. But
the FTR had their 20-minute
FTR. That was really well done. This was my favorite thing was the opening match. Ricky Starks and Darby Allin was great. And I thought it really set a tone for like a rivalry that we're going to see for years to come in AEW, you know?
I agree. I think Ricky and Darby are a very good yin and yang, and I like them a lot. I thought FTR with Tully Blanchard, just another layer of greatness. Great tag team match with SCU. Fantastic stuff over on the AEW side. But you tell me, what did the ratings reflect for AEW this week?
The ratings, it was kind of like par of the course for the most part. I mean, we had South Park come in as a big factor and take up a lot of those.
South Park last night, the pandemic special. Go out of your way to watch it.
You watch it, Robert? I haven't seen it still.
I've watched bits and pieces, and it looks hysterical. I haven't gotten to watch the full lump, but it looks like it's great satire on the current state of our world.
And what a wild world it's been. I mean, South Park usually, they play it up to that level of craziness, but we kind of reached it already on our own. So,
yeah, I think we're now living in just a South Park episode every day, and that is our lives. But yes, one superstar who did appear on AEW last night was the best man to Kip Sabian's wedding, Miro. Now, Miro is the Bulgarian brute. Or he was the Bulgarian brute. Now he's the beast from Bulgaria. He was Rusev. And here's the thing. We know that Rusev at this time last year was going through a bit of a marital problem on screen. And Lana said, "Oh my God, you're crazy. You're a sex addict. You just want to have sex everywhere. I'm at the doctor's. You want to have sex. You want to have sex on the kitchen table. You rode to WrestleMania in a tank. You wanted to have sex in a tank." That wasn't the original plan, was it, Dominic?
No, it wasn't. That wasn't. It wasn't in the cards or between the sheets. It was. It was more lack of between the sheets, so to speak. I put this as my intro for the post was that it's gonna be Rusev will be taking bumps but not be bumping uglies.
Yes. As it turns out, maybe he was riding a tank as a little bit of overcompensation because
very phallic. You're right. It's a very Greek theater kind of take on it.
There is some theater of the mind there. And now Rusev was on AEW Unrestricted with Aubrey Edwards and Tony Schiavone. Poor guy got super kicked last night by the Bucks, and he explains that originally Vince McMahon wanted Rusev to have erectile dysfunction. He goes on to say, they wanted Lana to say I was a sex addict, but the original pitch was that I have erectile dysfunction. They really wanted to kill me completely. I don't think in anybody's eyes how the babyface has erectile dysfunction makes him a good guy. There's nothing wrong with people who have erectile dysfunction. People take care of it. But that's not the case here. There's no coming back from it. Absolutely no coming back. I told them, Vince, this is going to bury me completely. He already had the man who took my wife. Then I have erectile dysfunction, and I'm going to lose. I wasn't supposed to lose. That just changed with time. I said it was a better idea if we did the sex addict thing, and he went for it right away. Thank God I did not have erectile dysfunction as a character. That transcription comes to us from our good buddies over at Fightful.com. Dominic, talk to me. What do you think?
The angle itself before that was already awful, and it was just completely shoehorned. Like people were talking about it online and stuff. I was not watching a lick of any of that stuff when it was on because I was just like, I do not care about this. I think it's just a stupid, dumb storyline that they don't have a direction for. And they clearly didn't because Rusev didn't even know he was going to lose at that juncture when it was pitched to him. So It's like, but yeah, ED, that's like, I kept thinking, reading this, I kept thinking about Mike Kanellis, or now Mike Bennett, and his situation with Maria that they had on there, and just how awful it was. Like, as a star, you're just like, how do you come back from a lot of that stuff? It's so tough to shake off. And maybe that's what I'm very curious about nowadays, because we have that immediacy coming at us all the time. Like this media saturation of wrestling, this and that, different angles, week to week, things change, like boom, boom, boom. But, how long is the staying power for that stuff? Like, will that stink stay on you for as long? Like, will people always associate you with that? Yeah. Or will it kind of subside because we're so oversaturated now that it's like immediate, like, okay, it's in my head, now it's out of it. I'm scrolling through a timeline here, so to speak.
What do you think of if I say the name Dusty Rhodes? Odds are...
I don't think Polka Dots. I don't. I think NWA. I think his classic run. So I don't know. Like maybe that, but that was, if you told me 10 years ago when I named my cat that, I would have thought Polka Dots. I would have thought everything because I didn't know the history of Dusty Rhodes. Right. I didn't know anything about him. But but now, so it's maybe a little bit different because it's a historic thing, and Dusty's legend was greater originally before he went to Polka Dots. But these guys, like a guy like Mike Bennett, who certainly established himself in ROH, but like really, hit the mainstream stride in WWE, like that was his big moment, quote unquote. Like, so I think it's kind of different circumstances, but it's like, or like Drake Maverick, like that I can't shake the fact he pissed himself.
WWE last year was having a lot of like, haha, men are kind of weak in modern times. I wonder if that was just like the projection of maybe some of the older people on the writing staff or some of the older people in creative of how the position of men and women has changed throughout the years, and maybe that's their take on it. I don't know. I'm glad he didn't have ED as a character. I'm glad he's in AEW as the best man, and he's in arcades playing with his blue balls. So like there is a consistent theme here with Miro and things in the bedroom. But I think that's a hilarious story that I'm surprised he shared on an AEW licensed podcast. But it is what it is.
Hey, obviously, it's unrestricted.
It is unrestricted. It might be a little uncensored. I think Miro's got a lot to give. And I hope that some of the silliness of the best man character doesn't hinder what he can give. I'm not saying I dislike it. I'm saying it's got room to grow.
Yeah, well, I'm with you. Like, and Marcus and I talk about this on Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitude, shameless plug, every Friday on WrestleZone.
That's podcast. Right, on this very podcast feed.
On this very podcast feed, everybody. Coming up this Friday. But we talked about this before, and how I liked the initial debut of Miro. Sorry, I liked the initial debut of Miro. Now, could they have positioned him a lot higher and made it more impactful? Of course they could have. But I still I was like, they can still make that trajectory happen, you know, with Kip and that involvement, and you elevate Kip in a way doing that. But now, like, I didn't honestly, Robert. It took me like a couple minutes to try to pick up on who the hell that guy was in the arcade with them. I was like, "Who the hell is this guy? Some like the like Billy Mays, or what is he like?"
He's Billy Mitchell. He's the King of Kong. So
right.
Here's the deal. He supposedly has the world record for a couple games, and he's maybe not the best person beyond that. I hear that he's cheated.
He cheated?
He cheated to get a lot of these records. He will sue if you push him on that issue, so let's not do that. And
I'll come after him. Whatever your name is, Bobby Mitchell. Is that his name?
Billy Mitchell.
Billy, I wrote his name. I couldn't hear it. It's like...
Listen here, you got a good connection with one Stephen P. New. So if you ever need to sue, there is Stephen P. New. But let's move away from dicks not getting hard, and let's talk more about a real reason for tanks, and that is the Wednesday Night War. So we talked about AEW and the good stuff they did there. Huge fan of Darby Ricky Starks. Huge fan of Jericho and MJF. I don't know where they're going with it yet, but I'm intrigued. Jericho's got 30 years to celebrate next Wednesday, and he's going to fight Dr. Luther, Japanese deathmatch legend, Dr. Luther. And this guy has one of the funniest trajectories in AEW because it's just, we don't know this guy, but he's actually a legend of 30 years. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do next week. What do you think about 30 years of Jericho?
You know, I like it. I think, you know, they even released, I just wrote before we got on here, I wrote like the Stars reaction, like AEW's roster's reactions and thoughts about it. They released a little clip on Twitter of like everybody kind of recounting and talking about Jericho. Some of it was like kind of forthright and honest and direct, and some of it kind of played in character too, like, well, he's kind of a dick, you know, that kind of thing. So I think they're going to have a lot of fun with it. And I think Jericho is really going to have a lot of fun with it. Now, and the fact that you mentioned MJF too, he's definitely going to stick his nose into that business somehow. And it's going to be really entertaining. Yeah, it's cool. 30 years, it's a good amount of time. Like, you know, Jerry Lawler just celebrated 50 years. In 30 years.
Unreal. Jerry Lawler did celebrate 50 years this past Saturday. He teamed with the Rock and Roll Express inside of a steel cage against Tommy Gilbert and Tommy Rich, Tommy Gilbert, and Matt Riviera, and just a ridiculous match. I'm sorry, not Tommy Gilbert before the older wrestling fans tell me. It was Doug Gilbert, Tommy Rich, and Matt Riviera in a Thunderdome cage with the Rock and Roll Express. And they're like, Ricky Morton will be 64 fighting Joey Janela in a few weeks at spring break. Unreal how some of these Southern wrestlers, they get it. Those Memphis boys, they just can't get it out of their veins.
No.
They can't do it.
And they hang on, man. And they still like, you know, Jerry Lawler for his age. And, you know, he still looks like Jerry Lawler.
He really does. He's looking more like Conway Twitty every day. But that is what it is. You know, I like the Rock and Roll Express. I like what they're doing. I hope to see them in AEW one day with a brush for greatness. But let's go talk about the other side of the Wednesday Night War. Let's talk about NXT. Now, yesterday, Paul Triple H Levesque had a media call, and the last person on that media call was the grandfather of Dirt Sheets, Papa Dave Meltzer, and Dave basically asked him forthwith, what do you think about moving nights, Paul? And he's like, hey, we're talking about it. Why doesn't another show move nights? And Dave Meltzer shot right back. Well, they were prohibited by the NBA and the NFL. First of all, do you think NXT should move nights, objectively, as a fan?
I can't remember what I said, honestly, when Kev asked me this question. I don't know. I don't think they should at this point in time. Because, yeah, you know what? It's a competition. Either way you shake it. And, you know, somebody like Vince, who is in charge of the whole shebang, does not want to concede. And I don't think Triple H wants to concede for that matter either. So if you're in it for the long haul, you want to play the long game and have confidence in your roster, in your personnel, and your staff, production team, that you are going to come out ahead above them, above what you have against you. So if you're in full confidence of what you're delivering as a product, you're not going to shake no matter what those numbers have gotten to. If they get really, really low, that's one thing. And, AEW beats them handily week in and week out. So, if I'm going to tune into one, obviously I've been tuning into Dynamite, but there's something more fresh about what Dynamite's doing in regards to not just their content, but, the name, the brand, and then the production that they're putting out is a little more, it's a stark difference between what, the WWE product is. So, but if I'm NXT, no, I'm not, I won't switch. Let's stick it out. Let's see where this goes.
We got a comment here from Herman Takar, always watching the show. Thank you, Herman, saying, why can't AEW move instead of NXT? I think, look, they could, but if you're winning, there's no reason to budge.
What's the point?
That's right. Let's get into NXT last night. They opened up with Shotzi Blackheart going against Dakota Kai. Nasty bump on this. Shotzi went for a sliced bread number 2 on the apron, and she hit her head. It looked gnarly. She then went on Instagram and was like, I promise I wasn't trying to hit her head, and posted a video of her doing the move properly. But it looked gnarly. This is a good match, though. Raquel tried to get involved as the Diesel to Dakota's Shawn. And Rhea Ripley came out and said, not today. Throws Raquel into the steps. Shotzi ends up getting the win. And that was how we started. We started with a banger. It went right up against Darby versus Ricky. I thought it was good. I thought it went on a little too long, though. I didn't like that the match superseded the time of Darby and Ricky. I thought it could have been cut just a little bit short. What do you think about the state of the women's division in general? Because right now we got Io going against Candice at the pay-per-view. Where do you think they go from here after Sunday night?
Io, I like her a lot, and I feel like when she had that in your house performance, I thought was really well done and stuff. But as far as you mean just specifically the NXT's women's division, correct?
Just specifically the overall.
Okay. So I think they're in the talent's there. I believe, the pieces are all there. I just think they need to be a little bit more reorganized. Like somebody like Raquel Gonzalez, I think she's amazing. Like she should be who you make. And putting her just kind of as a heater, I think is fine, but it makes sense from like the way WWE books things. But somebody like that, you can immediately put up top and just make dominant. And I think they need that kind of charge in there because that, you have Io Shirai and you have Candice LeRae, and those are already kind of established talents. But I think you really you need somebody that stands out really big time. And I think Raquel is one of them.
I would agree. Raquel, to me, I made the Shawn and Diesel comparison. She should run this division, and she could. And I'll go a step further. I think that they're afraid to put the tag team titles on NXT girls. I think that's why you haven't seen it happen yet.
I'm with you there, man. Like, why not do that? Why not get those to run the circuit, quote unquote?
And then you have immediately new girls on Raw, new girls on SmackDown. There's so much that could be done with those belts. But instead, they're on Nia and Shayna, who are currently not medically cleared. We believe, as it's been reported, that has something to do with the current COVID situation. More on that as we get it. Not get COVID, to be clear.
Very fluid. Fluid was the key word in that Triple H conference call. Did you notice that?
Oh, yes. Everything is fluid. How fluid do you have to be with creative? How fluid are your decisions right now? Now, Triple H also talked at length about Kyle O'Reilly stepping into the big time. He said, Kyle's a nice guy. Nothing makes me happier than to see a nice guy get this opportunity. And Kyle is going to deliver on Sunday, I believe. What do you think happens when Kyle O'Reilly gets in there with Finn Balor.
I think it's going to be an awesome match. I think it's just going to be a taste of what we can see from Kyle O'Reilly, and but and I want to say it's going to be a classic, but I just kind of have a hunch it won't be. But I think it's going to set a bar, for like what we're going to see for the future of Kyle O'Reilly.
Will it set a T-bar?
Hopefully not. I will take that back because T-Bar is pretty damn good on Twitter. As
you got handed.
I ate my balls on Twitter. Okay,
you ate your ball. I
ate my balls. Hard to say that.
T-Bar and Mace were just giving it to you, man. But
autocorrect is so important.
It really is. Proofread your tweets, guys. Retribution is out here coming for your head.
They're going
read those tweets.
Do not care if you spell a name wrong. They will go after you for it. I did.
That's right.
And I felt the wrath of Mace and T-Bar. Luckily, Slapjack, I don't think he can read, so I think I'm
well, you never know. Those Retribution guys. Did you know that Triple H was informed on yesterday's media call that, as it turns out, Retribution might be some NXT people?
You know what? I'm with Triple H here. I had no clue. What are you talking about here, Robert? Do you know who Retribution was? I thought it was the Nicktoons.
T-Bar is a little confusing, but there's no mistaking that Mia Yim look. But T-Bar is a little confusing. I'm not sure. Maybe it's
T-Bar is Mia Yim. Is that who
I'm not saying T-Bar is Mia Yim. I'm saying Mia Yim is definitely in there. She might be Reckoning. She might be Retaliation. She might even be Mace. I don't know. But I'm saying that those NXT people did bring on Retribution, and Triple H, he kind of learned that yesterday. I felt bad for him. It was kind of an ambush question by our pal.
He got caught off guard. I thought he rebounded all right.
Yeah.
He able to answer Nick's question, which good. So it's just. Hey, when you're you're spinning all those plates down in Orlando there, you got COVID coming in and invading. You got Retribution not invading the NXT, but you got a lot to deal with down there.
You do have a lot to deal with, including this. But Milligan asks, are they trying to break up the Undisputed Era? Now, earlier this morning, PW Insider reported, and we caught it here on WrestleZone, that Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole may be going babyface moving forward, with Strong and Fish not following. I don't ever want to see these four split up, but I'm not so certain that it would be Kyle and Adam. The old Future Shock, the old Ring of Honor tag team Future Shock. I'm not so certain it would be them. I think Adam is so good as a heel that it might end up being Kyle on his own as a baby with the other three as heels. What do you think?
I don't think that's too bad of a move. I would love to see just Riley and Fish Red Dragon keep it together. And then Fish kind of be like sort of, I don't want to say fodder because I think he's extremely talented, but like kind of like the in-between between maybe not Hangman. Holy smokes. What's his name?
Adam Cole. Adam Cole.
I'm all in Dynamite.
Listen, he was an Adam that was in Bullet Club. It's okay, brother. We got tweet,
We're still hanging on. But if Adam Cole and Roderick Strong, they kind of, boom, go after Bobby Fish, kind of take him out, motivate Kyle O'Reilly a little bit more. You elevate him, make him more of the guy again, and I think that's a good position too. But I'm with you. If you're going that way, I would keep Cole heel, because I think, and specifically if you're keeping him on NXT. So. That's
right, because we do have a draft coming next Friday.
Oh God!
And we do have the continuation of that on Monday the 12th. What do you think? Is it time to call the boys? Is it time to call those UE boys, as Shawn Michaels called them last night, up to the main roster?
You know what? I don't know. Like, I almost feel like, I know you don't want to see them split, but I almost feel like if you don't break some of it up, it's kind of run its course. I don't know. How long have they been around for at this point? Is it 3 years?
They have been around for 3. Okay, so Adam, Kyle, and Bobby came in 3 years ago this past August.
Okay.
And Adam and Roderick joined them on the WrestleMania weekend in 2018.
Yeah. Okay. So, wow. So, yeah, they've been around for a good amount of time. But I think if they were to get called up to the main roster, I think yes, because otherwise Vince will definitely lose them in the shuffle.
It concerns me to no end that they could get lost in the shuffle because they're too good to get lost anywhere. They should always be the top of the card. But at the end of the day, it is a size game, and when you got the tribal chief, who looks like he was chiseled out of stone. The man looks real good. Yeah, Paul Heyman there admiring him. I don't know. Like, all right, Paul Heyman thought Ryback was a beautiful man. So I can't imagine what he thinks about Roman Reigns. Just saying.
I was half tempted to change my phone wallpaper to Roman Reigns when I saw that picture.
There is nobody with a pulse, right? Whether they have ED like Rusev or not, that would blame you for changing your wallpaper.
Tony Schiavone says he's a handsome man.
He is. He's a handsome man.
He's a handsome man.
But let's get into the rest of the card for Sunday's NXT TakeOver 31 because I guess we're not taking over anything in particular. So we've got Kyle and Finn for the NXT Championship. Do you think that there's any realistic chance that the belt actually goes over to Kyle O'Reilly?
No, I don't think so. I mean, how could you? At this point, you just put the title on Finn Balor, who was a big star on the main roster, and he's kind of been floating there since he's shown up in NXT. Now you have a position for him where he can really create something in more of a new identity for himself and maybe bring back that old identity in the Demon, which I hope to see again. So you have a really good spot with Finn Balor right now. And so I cannot imagine, like Kyle O'Reilly, you definitely want to position and make there. But I think you just want him to have that good effort put forward that you want to see. And just to the build to the star almost. I mean, where you see you finally get a gauge of his trajectory and where it's going to be going long term.
I think I agree with you that Finn Balor is too good as a cornerstone of NXT right now. That even though I think there are more interesting stories that can be told with Kyle winning, I think you got to keep it on the Prince. But I fully expect that match to be an absolute banger, and it will be fun to watch. Now, up next, got North American Championship, Damian Priest, hot tub and all, going against Johnny Gargano, doing things the Gargano way, walking out of his front door, staring at a beautiful picture of Doc Hendricks saying, I do it for you. I do it for you, doctor.
Who doesn't do it for Doc Hendricks, though?
Dominic, I kid you not, my entire life, I've been doing it for Doc Hendricks. Love me some.
Is this why you're here today? Sitting with me is because of the great Doc Hendricks.
I will tell you that it is because of handsome Doc Hendricks. He is a fantastic man. I don't know if the guiding light of handsome Doc Hendricks can bring the North American title back to the home of Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae.
I don't think so. I think their mantle will remain filled with Spider-Man figures and other things that they enjoy. I don't think the North American title will be sitting there. And I think that's the right move, too, because you've seen NXT. Let's be honest. NXT, they've changed titles quite a bit recently, a little bit too much. So I think you want to kind of level out the playing field here and make the establish your champions yet again. And Damian Priest, that's another guy that should be just right up in the main roster right away. If you want to, if you really wanted to build somebody and just shock the system.
That's some UE boys, but I get what you're saying. But the thing is, the draft is what has me
true.
Iffy.
Good point.
Because maybe you just do it and you bring Damian Priest up, or maybe you're like, hey, I see Finn Balor as an asset for you now, and I want him on Raw. So maybe it does go to Kyle. You never know.
You know what? That's a really good point, Robert, because Vince, he doesn't see week to week, obviously. He sees hour to the witching hour. So it's like, who knows what mind he's going to make up by the time the Friday of October. What is it?
It would be Sunday, October 4th.
Okay, so.
Oh no, you mean for the draft?
I mean for the draft.
Friday, October 9th.
Okay, so when the night rolls around, Vince doesn't know what's going to happen there. No.
Our Rest friend, Iridian Fierro, go subscribe to the Rest Friends on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, says shock the system. Bit Milligan wants to know, will NXT be involved in the draft? No, they kind of just shuffle them into the picture as need be. Okay, so let's get into this. Michael Off wants to know, who will the mystery person be and who will they be going after? Who do you think this mystery person coming back, because they've said that it's a former champion coming back, who do you think it will be?
Bo Dallas. I think it's going to be Bo Dallas.
I like the idea of it being Bo Dallas, but just a smidge more, I like the idea of it being Ember Moon. So Bo Dallas might be a lost cause. I love Bo, but he might be a lost cause because
he could be, but he's been lost for quite a while and he has not been released.
Right? I mean, listen, I think the powers of the Fiend were able to keep Bo Dallas in the fold, and I think the trade was we release the tax man, but we keep the baby brother. I think that's what it was. But I don't know. I like the idea of it being Ember Moon because Ember Moon got real lost, and she did she never became a champion on the main roster, and I think she could do a lot more in NXT, specifically as the NXT Women's Championship match comes down. It's Io Shirai going against Candice LeRae, and I think, unlike Johnny, I think Candice brings this one home. I think she's earned it. The fact that this is her first championship match at a TakeOver is shocking to me, and I think Candice gets it, and the poisonous pixie turns around, and she's got to face the War Goddess. Ember Moon comes back, and we get Ember and Candice, and I think those would be some damn fine matches. But I'm going Candice LeRae. What do you think here?
I think I'm kind of with you because Io Shirai's had a good run, good defenses with the title. And I mean, you've been really hammering that, the heel duo of Gargano and LeRae and the husband and wife. So I feel, one of them has to get a belt, I feel. And I think it'll be Candice LeRae. I think I'm with you on that one.
And let's not forget, Johnny Gargano did say that legally they are married, so whatever is hers also belongs to Johnny. So Johnny would effectively become the only person in NXT to win every championship, and it's a beautiful thing. We are rooting for those history makers here on the WrestleZone wrap-up. Guys, don't forget to share the link. You can always share the link. Always get your comments on screen as we continue running down the card here for NXT TakeOver 31. Now, let's talk about this. It's Kushida in his first TakeOver match, which is asinine because he's been there for well over a year, going against the Velveteen Dream. What do we do? What do we do?
Yeah, you want my real opinion?
I want you unfiltered, Dom. I'm here. I'm running the show today. Kevin Kellum is off on assignment. We'll get into that towards the end of the show. I'm here. I want your real opinion.
All right, I would job Velveteen Dream out in 10 seconds and never see him again. But
go ahead.
I really think, obviously, I just don't like, just all that whole situation where it's like, we did investigating, but we're not going to give you any more details about it. That's kind of it. We're going to leave it all at that.
Realistically, let's talk about this. Realistically, is there anything that they could do to make you comfortable watching the Velveteen Dream?
Yeah, just be straightforward about it. What kind of stuff did you investigate? What was a little bit of the thing? This is a serious allegation against this dude. And, to just kind of okay, yeah, we did our part and we found nothing. Okay, well, what was your part? And, that's what I want to know.
See, it's to me, it's a touchy situation because it's something that was brought into the public eye, But if they found something and it's best to remain private, is it all they need to say is, hey, we didn't find anything that would lead us to releasing this man? I don't know. I think it's a concerning situation, but here's the thing. They've clearly committed to not releasing him. And that is why I say Velveteen Dream loses here. And for the love of God, Crowder, get off the pot, call him up to the main roster, because there's nothing left for him to do in NXT. Whether he's a good person, bad person off the screen is another situation entirely, but there's nothing left for him to do on camera in NXT. I think Kushida wins here, and he wins decisively, showing an edge. And maybe he gives you a little bit of that, what you want, where you beat him quick. And, and then you move Dream up to the top of, not the top of, but you move him up over to the main roster, because I think it's just time to get him in a different scenario.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna keep him around, I would agree. Like, he's got nowhere else to go, like in NXT. But honestly, like this, I'm Velveteen and I'm completely innocent of all this stuff. I would be like, hey, listen, you have to let me say something. You have to let me clear my name here in some form or fashion. Because if you get him called up to the main roster, this is something you're not going to shake, because we haven't fans, whether the optics are important, and WWE knows that better than anybody. Like they want the optics there. So, I mean, if you're going to cover, I don't want to say like just dismiss it. You're not putting him in a right position to further his career as one of your stars. If he's actually innocent of all this stuff, if you've done your investigation and you have if you have some details, like if I were him, I would be like, do this, because otherwise I'm screwed.
Well, on the main roster, there's a situation with a man named Matt Riddle.
Right.
And he's been very forthwith about his situation. And I don't know if that does anything in the minds of fans to clear his name. I think that stink is on you, and once it's on you, it's not getting off. So maybe Dream is just stuck with this.
Then I think his ceiling's very low. Like
it really is. His ceiling dramatically decreased with all of these allegations, and such is life. I mean, you can love a performer on screen, but there is a real life behind all that, and Velveteen Dream definitely has a lower ceiling. But I'm going to go Kushida. You're going Kushida.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's time for him to actually get a win on a takeover.
Yes. I can't
he's been there for a long time, and he has not been on TakeOver. It's ridiculous. Last match on the card here, the NXT Cruiserweight Championship in a rare TakeOver match. It is Santos Escobar going against Isaiah Swerve Scott. I love me some Swerve.
Me too.
Like, Swerve is so good. He's one of those dudes who has been good on the indies. He could be in the Hurt Business tomorrow, and I would not complain. Swerve Scott is good. The problem here is the word we just used, the ceiling. The ceiling is, by default, very low when talking about the Cruiserweight division. It's always going to be what it is. I think it's time to put it on Swerve, but I think the real winner here is Santos Escobar, because Swerve gets the belt. Santos goes to the main roster with Legado del Fantasma, and Raw gets the new tag team. Santos Escobar gets a chance to make himself a star. What do you think?
When you were saying all this, I was thinking like, this seems like the right opportunity to put Swerve up to the main roster. But because I'm thinking like, Escobar, it's a hot act. So it's like you have that going. If you're really, unless Vince is sinking his talons into it, if you're Triple H, I think you'd want to keep that around and have that kind of eventually build towards the top storyline of your brand. But I can certainly see your side of the thing where they get called up instead, and I think Swerve's amazing. Like, I think seeing him, he was positioned as a top star in early MLW, and winning the title and going up against Ricochet and stuff like that. Just amazing. Like his presence and his ability to get himself over is really top notch. And so I think yeah, like we talk about ceilings. I think, if you allow him to be, his ceiling's very high. But you look at what happened to Ricochet on the main roster too, and so who knows?
Yeah, I mean, right now I think let him run 205 Live. It'll be fun for the people who watch it. It'll be great, but I think Escobar gets moved up by virtue of the fact that he is a major top star. Let's get into this. Jay Feliciano asking, any news on the status of Jordan Devlin and the Cruiserweight title? So we talked about speaking out a little bit when discussing Velveteen Dream. Jordan Devlin also had somebody come forward in speaking out. And to my surprise, they have not removed him on WWE's website as Cruiserweight champion. He's still seen as a co-Cruiserweight champion. I don't know if he can come back because remember, there's levels to all of this speaking out stuff. For Dream, it was one thing. For Devlin, it was a case of physical abuse. Now,
was it? Now, I honestly cannot remember his situation.
It was physical abuse. A woman that he was in a relationship with accused him of some physical abuse. I guess clearly they're working on finding more details because I know that in the past they released Rich Swann just for a domestic dispute that has since well smoothed over with him and Su Yung. So they don't play around with that. Obviously, they have history with the Benoit stuff. It shocks me that he's still on the roster. But as of this time, no official word.
Yeah. Now, from his situation, from what I kind of gathered or remember, wasn't he almost kind of cleared in a way? Or was that maybe because WWE stuck with him that we kind of had that impression that, okay, well, maybe he's not as guilty as he's implied or implicated, alleged to be, I guess.
So it might be because they stuck with it. I think he might have been one of the names that they trademarked. I can't recall off the top of my head. I do know that one name. There was a lot of names in the UK scene.
There was a lot of names.
There was a lot of names in the UK scene that got called out. I know Trent Seven got called out for something.
Travis Banks,
didn't he get released?
He got released. Oh, he got cut. Yeah.
Yeah. Ligero got released.
Yep.
Jack Gallagher released.
Oh, immediately.
Yeah. Ligero and Gallagher, they didn't even. It was like you found out and they were gone.
Boom. Out of here.
It's really going to be touch and go, and we're in a new era. We're learning as we go along. It's different over there. They just got a all-party parliamentary group to investigate wrestling, so that's going to be a change of scenery as we go along. I don't know. We will obviously keep you updated at WrestleZone, but we can only report what we know. Right now, what we know is there's no major update for Jordan Devlin.
No, yeah, that's all we got. Honestly, I don't know if he released a statement when it happened, but something made it. I don't know. I don't want to accuse him of doing it or not doing it, but I was under the impression that maybe he was one of the names that kind of got cleared almost, for lack of a better word. But I honestly, I could be very wrong because, like I said, I didn't even remember his situation too much.
So guys, get your comments on screen. We are a very interactive stream. I know some people are like, why is Robert running the show? Where the hell is Kevin?
Where the hell is Kevin?
Kevin Kellum will be on the AEW Alive stream tonight on Fight TV. He'll be doing some backstage correspondence. I'm very happy for my friend Kevin. I love watching him kill it everywhere he goes, whether it's radio, comedy, and now this opportunity. He's going to do great. He has our full support, but that's where he is. He'll be back on Monday.
Have yours though, Robert, because not all your support is with us at WrestleZone. We know that. We know that for a fact.
Okay? We do know that. Yes. I am what they call an independent contractor, folks, as you might have heard in the news. And I work for
a lawless mercenary, I like to call you.
I am the lawless mercenary. I am the slave to one thing, and that is the almighty dollar. But Kevin Kellum is my friend because even though they advise you not to when you take this job, you do form bonds and friendships. And there's probably no greater bond I have than the one with Kevin Kellum, where we just rib on the square, and it's a lot of fun. And I could not be happier to see him getting this opportunity.
Yeah, it's good. I'm happy for Kev too. It's pretty awesome. He's such a diverse, good talent. Like, I think one of our top stars here at WrestleZone.
Absolutely. I mean, he's a magnetic personality, and you get that from the minute you talk to him, and you guys probably get that from watching the stream. But while you guys get your questions ready, let's go over some other news. So the XFL, remember that?
A little bit.
So it's going to start this year, and then COVID. This COVID thing happened, like with everything else, and the XFL went away. But alas, in a story that could only happen in 2020, the XFL was saved as Vince McMahon's Football League was sold to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And The Rock announced today via Instagram that it's going to return in spring of 2022. Are you excited for the XFL?
I am excited. Honestly though, I'm a NFL guy and I'm a Jets fan, so football's got me a little dejected because the Jets are just an awful football team. So it's like football is just kind of like, I love football, but it's like also I'm in a bad spot personally. But I am excited because you know what, The Rock is a name. Obviously, he's a name. He's got involved a little bit in politics recently, as this past week or so, and now as he's got that obvious huge connection with wrestling. I love the fact that The Rock does not shy away from being admirer of wrestling. Like he's taken his opportunity to be on this stage to kind of embrace wrestling more and be a pro advocate for it. And obviously he's got the football background. So I think he was the perfect purchaser for this, because otherwise I don't think the XFL would have nearly as much of a shot if anybody else bought it, so you got a name like The Rock mixed in with it. And the creativity with The Rock on there and his ability to promote, as well as maybe just new ideas that he might have, and his football knowledge. Vince doesn't have a jack crap about football, know anything about football. So you got Rock there. It's perfect. It's better. It's a better opportunity for XFL, and I'm glad to hear that it's coming back, even though we got to wait well over a year for it.
Shout out to Danny Garcia, his business partner, and they seem to make magic together. She's making history as the first female owner of a football organization. Michael Off says, "Sorry about the Jets, Dominic. I'm a Giants fan. I'm in the same boat."
Yeah, he knows.
I would like to take this time, as a native New Yorker, born and raised in Queens, New York,
to
ask how the fuck New York teams don't win at least one sporting championship a year. We have multiple teams for all sports, and you don't win at least one every year. I don't get it. I don't know. Maybe that's why I gravitate towards wrestling, because sports is too much of a heartbreak.
Here's the fact of the matter. Giants do have a good owner, but they don't. They also have a bad general manager. The Jets are awful all the way through. They're rotted at the core because their ownership sucks. Their coach sucks. Well, their GM's pretty good, and the Knicks ownership is awful too. So they're dog shit. The Mets ownership is dog shit. That might change soon, but that's why you're not seeing a whole lot of New York City teams win. The Yankees, they're always pretty decent. So at least you got the Yanks if you're a New York fan. But otherwise, you're in a rough spot.
I am. It's always so heartbreaking, Dominic.
Mm-hmm. That's sports for you, man. That's why. Yeah, you're right. That's why we enjoy wrestling, because ultimately, if you do it right, you get a good payoff.
That's right. So earlier this morning, we broke some news over in the zone about the name of Penta El Zero M. So the former Pentagon Jr., there was a name change. As it turns out, Dave Meltzer had reported that he'd be Penta Zero M, but that's not accurate. He is going to be Penta El Zero M. So the Zero Mero thing that he does about 50 times a match, that will be his name going forward. One of the major reasons he opted for that name change is because for AEW is related to his previous name, Pentagon Jr. It's still owned by AAA. So AEW was able to continue calling him Pentagon since they had a working relationship with AAA, but want to minimize risks moving forward, using names, wrestlers, own themselves instead of a separate promotion having control. What do you think about that?
I think it's cool on AEW's part, especially to allow the wrestler to hold rights to his name, which it just seems like a ludicrous notion to like have in the first place. Like, yeah, this is the star, this is who they are, this is who they identify with. Why not give them their name? So I think that's cool. As far as the name change goes, like, I think it's just weird. I think Penta's trajectory in AEW's, like, it's just been a strange one. You think about it, like, All In, he was in one of the main events with Kenny Omega. Like, and then, the Lucha Brothers, when they signed, we were like, damn, this is going to be the tag team the Young Bucks are going to feud with, and it's going to be crazy. And it kind of, like, it happened, I think, but I don't really remember it, to be honest.
Well, you don't remember it because they ran through it in the first 3 shows, but there was no television behind it, so there was less to, sink your teeth into.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, for as far as the name goes, good for him. Like, and I think there's still plenty of time for him to establish himself. So I mean, I don't think Pentagon or Penta. We already kind of called him Penta, so it's like it's not going to be too much of a leap to make. So I mean, I think it's a good spot and good for good on AEW for allowing them to use names.
So let's get into this last topic here. On the topic of names in wrestling and owning names, news broke today. AA Arn Anderson applied for a trademark on the Four Horsemen.
Yes.
And I gotta tell you, Dom, maybe we could actually see a legitimate Four Horsemen faction in All Elite Wrestling. Who is it? Who do you book? Who are your 4 guys?
Oh yeah, that's right. We talked about this off air. How I was like, oh, we gotta save this for the show. Yeah. So okay, this is what I would do. I would do FTR, obviously. Obviously. Sean Spears, I would do.
Okay.
And then we were talking about Cody. We were talking about. We weren't talking about too much. Hangman would kind of make sense. Oh, he would totally make sense, actually.
But do you think Hangman? See, my thing is Cody would give his life to this. Cody would.
Yeah, but Cody is the perfect adversary for if you had a new Four Horsemen. I don't think you could pass that opportunity up because Dusty feuded with the Four Horsemen. Why, if you're gonna bring them back, I just think it's kind of like, oh, you're getting a little too cute by putting Cody into it.
Well, we saw this in the WWE. Cody feuded with Ted DiBiase Jr., and it was almost like a reversal of roles. Cody grew up. Yes, Dusty was the common man of the son of a plumber, but because of the money that Dusty made, Cody grew up a very, very well-off young man. So I think he could live that horseman lifestyle and would get it.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. But my 4th member, oh man, see, I would kind of more to think about. More I like Hangman in the mix, even though I really want Hangman to stay face. Okay, but this is what I'll go with. Is FTR, Sean Spears, and here's my wild card, Brian Pillman Jr. That's the 4th one. As the up and comer, as the guy that they're grooming and going forward up there.
I love Brian Pillman Jr. I think he is phenomenal. I can't wait for him to sign. He's with MLW right now, so he will be doing stuff on television. But it's so clear that his head and his heart is towards All Elite Wrestling, and I can't wait for the day that happens.
It's, you know what? Honestly, Robert, when I saw him like show up there and like they had him in matches, I'm like, they're really underplaying him. Like, but granted, they don't have a choice because they don't have a choice. But he's somebody that you want to, and MLW knew that too. Like they put him big over there. He was one of their top guys too, and rightfully so. So, and seeing him mix up with Injustice and stuff like that's going to be pretty cool when they come back and do the restart. But that would be my 4th. That would be my 4th guy.
I like it. Pillman Senior was a horseman.
Yes, that's it exactly. So it makes a little bit of sense. But Sean Spears, I'm interested. Actually, okay, I'm gonna pivot just real quick. This is crazy. Okay, I am putting Hangman in the Four Horsemen. I'm taking Sean Spears out. I'm saying Tully turns on. This is my fantasy booking. I'm saying Tully turns on Sean. Sean goes babyface. Because I honestly think Sean Spears could be a great babyface. Well, it's just me on here. Whoa, look at that.
I tried to give you the whole screen, but it just divided your face.
But I think Sean should turn babyface because I think he's got the potential to be a very good babyface.
I think Sean Spears just needs to find something that works for him. Steven Wago of Smart Out Moment saying, "I smell."
Why do you smell, Robert? And how does it smell you?
I think there might be a stink, but that's only because I'm the shit. Okay.
Oh, hey, that's a Kid Rock reference there.
That is a Kid Rock reference.
Waller show.
That is a Kid Rock reference. We are getting into the 2000s new metal references here. We got to get this guy's comment on screen. James Espanto Fernando Taguay, always watching, always supporting. We always appreciated it. Says Pillman would be great, and I agree, but I am not that creative, so I'm just going to say Art and Tully both get the JJ role. And then we get Sean Spears, FTR, Cody, and that's Four Horsemen. And they're literally the Four Horsemen. You got the legacy of the Brainbusters behind them. I think that's good. I would hope that it happens. I'm not so sure.
This is my question. Could they trademark the Five Horsemen?
I don't know. I think now does MLW still own the trademark for the Extreme Horsemen?
Yes.
Oh, they do. Well, there you go. I guess we're not getting that.
Oh, they definitely do because they just made a T-shirt too, a throwback T-shirt of the Extreme Horsemen.
Oh, good. Underrated guy, that C.W. Anderson.
Yeah, right. He just retired too from the ring.
He retired mid-COVID.
Yeah. Wow.
So, Dom, speaking of MLW, why don't you get into telling the people what you're doing?
Sure. So, yeah, I write for MLW, but I just happened to interview Alexander Hammerstone, who is, I think, I've interviewed he's my current record holder for who I've interviewed the most. 4 times, baby, speaking of 4. So,
all right.
Just spoke with him about the restart. That's not up on the podcast feed, but look out for it.
That's coming. It's coming.
It's coming down the pipeline. Stuff that is up there is my interview. Who did I just interview last? The
guy's been interviewing so many people that he don't even remember who he interviewed last. There's a James Storm one up there.
Yes. Oh, that's going to be a great one. I'm so excited for that one. That's coming up. We talked for over an hour, and we talk about everything from life to wrestling in the ring to his children's book to drinking. It's great. I was cracking up so much during that one. He has some awesome stories. James Storm is one of my favorite people, not just in wrestling, but just in general, because he's just such a good, down-to-earth dude. And you'll see that in this interview. It was a really fantastic one. Thanks for bringing that up, Robert, because, I would really like that one.
Now, are long necks and rednecks still his friends?
That's a good question. I would think so. The rednecks, they usually stay by you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You also interviewed Terry Funk is up there talking about his book. We've got interviews. Conrad Thompson, the Podfather. I'm putting this out there. I'm putting it into the universe, Tom. Next time that happens, I want it to be a little 3-way interview, and I want to get in there and ask some questions to the Podfather myself. Very entertaining man, very down to earth. I know how you could be in this business when you're friends with Brother Love and the son-in-law of Ric Flair. It's amazing that he's a down-to-earth man.
Hey, we mentioned, too, we're big fans of Eric Bischoff.
Oh, I love Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff is a good dude. I know that a lot of people think he's full of shit, but hey, it's wrestling. Of course, some people are full of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Also out there, Bill Pritchard just interviewed the hardcore legend himself, Mick Foley, talking about the 12-Hour Shift, a new movie where he plays a bad guy, Mick Foley playing a heel.
As a bad guy? Well, it's happened.
Listen, that's okay. It's spoopy season. He still has time to make the babyface turn right before the holidays, so jolly old St. Michaels can make a return. Check out the website. All the stories we got going on there. Live coverage of TakeOver this Sunday beginning at 6:30 p.m. Live coverage of SmackDown. Live coverage of everything going on in the world of wrestling. For my side of things, you check me out on Twitter at DeFelice. Check him out on Twitter at Dominic DeAngelo. I'm on Fightful Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
You're on everything, Robert.
I'm on Spark Out Moment Wednesdays and Saturdays and Fridays. I'm everywhere. I love the world of wrestling. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Different look, different feel.
Robert, I told you this. I like the simple background. It feels like we're classic WWF, but it's classic WrestleZone. We need the flame logo going, though.
We do need the flame logo going on. We might have to steal your tattoo. I got to tell you, when you're watching wrestling, Dominic, even though we got all this craziness going on,
So crazy.
and the debates are a mess, and our lives are a mess, and everything's a mess because it's 2020. But Dom, when you're watching wrestling, forget all of that. What do I got to do when I'm watching wrestling?
Enjoy it, Robert.
Enjoy wrestling. Enjoy AEW Alive tonight at 8 p.m. on Fight. Support Kevin Kellum. We love you, Kevin. And we will see you all back here on Monday after Raw.